And my name is Subhash Thakur. Okay, before initiating this, do you have any general question related to geography optional? General one. कुछ है ऐसा दिमाग में? You want to ask anything? No, it is not factual. Today I am going to tell you why it is not factual. ठीक है? Because see, I have already taken an orientation. It was on 28th of June, as I remember my best, and that video is there in which I have gone for detailed explanation. So today I will be initiating for your first lecture. You have given your lecture program, and this is your geomorphology, right? The first topic. Now see, basically, if you are going to divide geography as an optional, we have paper 1 and paper 2, right? This is your part of Indian geography, and this is your part of world or your theoretical aspect, right? The first topic is geomorphology, then it is climate, then it is climatology, then it is oceanography, then it is biogeography. This is the first part of your paper 1. Okay? Then from second onwards it is your thoughts, that is second section. Then it is settlement, population, urbanization, and theories, and so on. There are many subsections. If you are going to compare it with the Indian geography, all the aspects of the world is being given with the respect of India only. For example, if you are going to study the concept of the geomorphology, then in India, in your first topic, it is physiographic division of India. That is northern mountain system, plains, and so on, drainage. Okay, so our approach will be integrating the topics, okay, which has been given in your lecture plan. For example, if you are going to start with the geomorphology, you can see lecture 10 and 11, that may be on the back side. It relates with the Indian physical geography. And why I am going to integrate paper 1 and paper 2? क्लास में आएगा, सर को फोन कर दीजिए. Why I am going to integrate it? Because see, let's talk about the Himalaya. Okay? You have to study in detail about the Himalayas, greater Himalayas. There are 3 ranges, there are trans Himalayas and so on. But what is the theory of the formation of Himalaya? So once you are going to study the theory in geomorphology, that is related to the plate tectonic, geosyncline, orogeny, folding, faulting, I am going to integrate the topics of Himalaya there. Similarly, once we are going to finish the section of our climatology, we are going to study Indian monsoon. Similarly, if we are going to study the population of the world, we have to look for the population of India. Now, second thing is, geography has a very broader aspect. ठीक है, इसलिए सबको लगता है कि यार इतना difficult syllabus है, तो सब उसमें क्या करते हैं? They start mugging up the fact. ठीक है, let's talk about the contemporary issue first. Let's talk about कि भी heat wave था. We have faced some average, average temperature in January was highest, February highest. So we are recording the highest temperature. So if there is a heat wave, okay, what impact it is going to have? ऐसे ही guess करो, simple guess करो, दिमाग चलाओ बस. Think, which is required in geography, right? It is science also, it is humanity also. So when you are going to study the physical geography, then it is science. And when you are going to study the population and such sort of a contemporary issue, then it becomes humanity. So what heat wave is going to have an effect? Disturbance such as, so there is a concept of climate change. Now start relating it with, अगर climate change हो गया, so what impact again it is going to have? How? Go on. So adaptability is one of the factor, but adaptability is a very long term issue. Okay. For example, I was just discussing with my wife, and I have in fact told my sir also, Jojo sir, ki sir, if this heat wave is going to continue, then we have to work from 6 p.m. in the evening to 6 a.m. in the morning, because nobody is going to suffer that sort of a heat. And we have most recorded death in this year only. Okay. Now see, you are saying that same thing, but the things are different. If there is a climate change, okay, there will be the melting of the ice cap, there will be the rise of the sea level. So there is a new term called climate refugees. Do you know what is the cost of this heat wave or the climate change? 48 trillions dollar per year. Now, if there is a concept of climate refugees, that means there will be migration. So you can relate migration. Obviously, due to this heat wave or this climate change, in this year itself, we have the lowest production of wheat. So it is going to affect crops or mota-moti agriculture, right? Now again in India, or I'm not talking about the world first, okay? In world geography we are going to study. In India, your 54% population, and the present data is 52%. So approximately 50% of population is directly engaged in agriculture, right? So in that 50%, approximately 75 to 80% is your female partnership. Okay? So this is the issue related with the female. And if agriculture is going to decline, there will be another factor of food security. By the data, 83% of the child below 5 years in Bihar are malnutrition, and 63% overall data is of India. 80 करोड़ लोग को फ्री में अनाज दे रहा है ना. It is directly related with the concept of the food security. Now, who is going to migrate more, male or a female? Late आया. Who is going to migrate more, male or a female? Male. And if there is a decline in agriculture which is related with the rural sector, male is going to migrate towards the urban sector, right? Urban places. So there is more and more stress in urban places. So migration leads to stress on urban places. Now those who are migrating, they are not of very well-off families, right? Mostly it is seen in the labor class. Okay? So if they are going to migrate towards the urban places, they are going to live in slums. And slums, if there are more and more people who are migrating, then there will be a concept of unemployment. At the urban center, we are facing the highest rate of unemployment in India at present time, that is 9.2%. सब कुछ क्रॉस कर गया है. So then it will be unemployment, and if there is unemployment, then there will be a section of crime, again a crisis. Now, if you are going to say about one topic, you have to think about the multi-dimensional aspect. Now, when we are going to write down the answer, if the question is heat wave, we have to focus on this, and these become the subsidiary points. But if the question is asked on migration, this becomes central focus, and this heat wave becomes your subsidiary point. So see, if you are thinking about one thing, you can have a multi-dimensional approach in writing down your answers. It is only depending upon what your things, how your thoughts are going to work. And see, it is not an easy thing in UPSC. मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, if you are going to think कि ऐसे पढ़ लेंगे वैसे पढ़ लेंगे, नहीं होता है. So you have to be very precise in what you are studying, and do not go to many resources. There are ample of books. I can give you, for example, in Geomorphology, my references are Savindra Singh, Physical Geography. Savindra Singh, I have given that. NCERT, Ravinder Singh Geomorphology, Rupa publication made geography made easy. Strahler and Strahler. I am student of Majid Hussain, so I study Majid Hussain also. तो ये 6 किताब पढ़ के क्या करेगा? पढ़ पाएगा कभी? नहीं. GS में भी वही अप्रोच है. Now you do not want to become a teacher. See, I sometimes I joke, ठीक है, but sometimes I'm very serious. For example, I graduated from IIT, right? Then I went to NASA. 2 साल काम किया वहाँ पे. Then छोड़ के सिविल सर्विसेज में आया. फिर वहाँ भी छोड़ के पढ़ाने में आ गया. Now I'm in teaching. Now, do you think if I am from IIT, I am from NASA, or I have worked in as a civil servant, if it would have been true, will I be here? तो जो मैंने कहा बिल्कुल झूठ है. I am graduate in physics with honors. That's correct. And I never done PG. Why? Because my interest was in, I was just like a student like you, and I'm teaching for last 12 years. I'm studying geography for last 20 years. It was my optionals. My last attempt was in 2010. So by that, I know what to study in geography and how to teach. But do you think this was the destiny which I thought for? The answer is no. And I always wanted to become a civil servant, though due to some factors, चलो ठीक है, नहीं होगा. So you do not have to do PhD. So if I have given you 6 references book, why? Because for my teaching purpose it is required. For in fact in climatology you can take the 3 references. You can have NCRTs, you can have Critchfield, you can have DS Lal, and there are many such sort of books for each and every section. So stick to the basic one. And it is better to study one source 100 times rather than studying 100 source different times. It is not will be helpful for you, not even in optional and not even in your GS. And remember, still optional is your strength. Okay, for example, out of 1000 marks in GS, how much you want to score in GS? What is the average score in GS till date? Harsha, 450 is not the average one. This is the average score, 28%. If you have a 450, that means you will be in top 3 ranks. 420, 410, it is achievable. But if you are going to see the ranks of the topper, then it is that. It is only 28%. And remember, in our times, we had GS paper of 600 marks. So in that era also, the average score was 280 only. But in optional, you can score up to 330 easily out of 500. That is round about 65 to 70%. Now suppose if you have this marks in suppose you have this marks in suppose you have this marks in GS and this is in your optional 330. What is the total score? $630 approx 630 ले लो. In your GS essay paper 120, chalo, it is 750. And if you get 200 score in your interview, you will be an IAS. Do you know what is the last score of the candidate who cleared in UPSC? It was round about 787. इस पे तो कभी भी इंटरव्यू का कॉल आएगा. So always remember that this decide your rank, this optional decide your selection. It is not the GS who decide your selection. And if you have 450, समझ गया, सीधा टॉप पे रहेगा. You will be in top 3. To plan your strategy very well. See, each and every part in optional or in GS will be not in command. And that is very true. I'm very weak in economics, but I know economic geography. I do not understand the basic concept of GDP also. Even in optional, I was very weak in thoughts. I am. So I'm not going to take that section. A different expert will be there. I'm only going to take some 70% of your syllabus. The rest 30 will be taken by Jojo sir. So I'm very clear in that. If I'm weak in thoughts, I'm not going to take that section. क्योंकि मैं अपनी वीकनेस से अगर आपको पढ़ाऊं तो आपका सिलेक्शन नहीं होगा. And remember, by February, if you're going to attempt next year, so by February, your optional must be finished with answer writing. Because in mains, you do not have time. There is one student who is giving 4th time in a direct row, and she is giving this mains. Though I told her ki this bar ruk jao, stop it this time. Take a break so that you can again reframe your strategy. But she has given and she has cleared it again. And she is from Shillong. So remember ki if you are having those sort of a streak, then still it is a possibility that you may not clear the mains. So your strategy for the mains must be clear, crystal clear. Focus on optional. GS ठीक है करो, but if you are going to score, I'm not saying do not score. This must not be your target. ठीक है? It is the average score which I'm talking about. ठीक है? तो उसको start करते हैं and have your strategy. Now you told about the fact. ठीक है? So first lecture will be there and I'm going to start with the interior structure of Earth itself. This which is the first topic of your geomorphology with the introduction of Endogenetic Forces, your first lecture. Look at that. Okay. Now 11 lectures has been given to the geomorphology with complete section of the India, but it may increase to 12 or 13 depending upon how you all are going to interact. See, I am also a human being. अगर समझ में नहीं आया तो please ask the question, and if you are not going to ask, I am also going to skip it. So always remember that. Now I have given the references for this, that is Savinder Singh, your physical geography, and there is one Savinder Singh book of geomorphology also, but again it is for the PhD students. Second is I have given your NCRTs. Okay, that is the basic one, वो आपको करना ही करना है. It is better that you refer to the old NCRT, not the new one. New one is suitable for GS but not for optional, and you may get the photocopy of that. Okay. And third, which you must have, is that your NCRT standard 9/10th science book. How many of you are from science background? And you are from humanity? So ठीक है, तो see, geography में, if you are going to study climatology, oceanography, geomorphology, these are the three basic first 3 topics. There are concept of pressure. There is a concept of Newton's law of motion. There is a concept of heat, temperature. Okay? So you must be aware. I'm not talking about the science of physics level of a graduation degree. It is not required. Theory of relativity is not in your geography. Okay? But basic aspect of your science, what is pressure, okay? What is temperature, what is difference between temperature and the heat, this must be clear because you have to study it. And it is going to continue till climatology itself. Okay, I am there to help you. I am going to explain. If I am going to study about, if you are going to study about the temperature, in detail I am going to talk about it. But you have the basic understanding. For example, if you are going to study about the weathering process, that is in denudation and a slope decline theory, that is Davison and Penck theory. In that there is a concept of chemical weathering. Chemistry aa jayegi. Then I have to write down some formula. For example, if you are going to study biogeography, that is related to the soil, biomes, trees, then there will be some section of biology also. See, geography encompasses each and every aspect. You have to study about the transportation system, trade, communication network, and so on. Industries, their location. तो सब है. In humanities, what was your topic? Sociology and polity. So we have a concept of there is one topic which is related with the international relation also. ठीक है. It is given in your when we are going to study, that is geopolitics. So when we are going to talk about the geopolitics, again there will be some section of polity also there. Okay, there is a heartland rimland theory, that is Mackinder theory. So you have to study about the concept of contemporary history after the 1947 and the contemporary politics also. I always give an example in that. For example, China was, and it is one of the most relevant topic at present time, China was building OBOR, One Belt, One Road initiative, and it was based on which factor? The Silk Route, which was crossing through Afghanistan. ठीक है, connecting the part of a Karakoram highway. ठीक है. So Afghan, what USA did? They left Afghan. ठीक है. Again Taliban took over that place. And what was Joe Biden saying, because there is again a presidential election in this year itself in USA. So Joe Biden was saying that we have spent $20 trillion on Afghanistan. And what is the GDP of Afghanistan? 60 billion. बहुत खराब स्थिति है. So China was initiating this to connect the route towards Europe, so that they can gain from the resources. And in Afghanistan, there is a more resource of a copper, okay, there is a resource of uranium and so on. So when USA left Afghanistan, what happened? Taliban controlled it now. So Afghanistan became a point of trouble. Now where the OBOR is, for trade, for transportation network, for economics to work, you need a peaceful environment. USA ऐसे नहीं छोड़ा उसको, because China's influence was growing in this central region of the Asia, and it was connecting towards the Middle East. So USA left it. Now this area is disturbed. So have you even heard of OBOR now? OBOR now? अब see what was the USA doing. Earlier USA took all over the contracts in Afghanistan when they were having the control, and with that resource USA was earning money. At the same time, for that resource USA was transferring some money to Afghanistan also. And what Afghanistan was doing? They were purchasing the arms, food from where? USA itself. So USA not only gained all the resources, but took all their money also. And where the trade emerged more prominently, where the employment was generated? USA. Now see where the Afghanistan is. So again, it constitutes, in geopolitics we have to study all the aspects. Even you have to study about the Cuban Missile Crisis, when we are going to discuss about the heartland and rimland theories. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ज्योग्राफी में सब कुछ है, थोड़ा थोड़ा. So today we are going to start with the science section bit, because it is geomorphology. That's why I told you कि you must have standard 9th 10th NCERT. उतना साइंस में समझा दूंगा जो बेसिक है. Right? Can we start now? चलो. महेश, गुड मॉर्निंग. काफी लेट हो. Give the heading geomorphology, and first is your interior structure of Earth. Now we have to discuss it. See, there are three types of forces, right? Generally there are two types of forces, but I'm going to include the third one, gravity also. In nature there are four fundamental forces. Can you name it? Weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force, electromagnetic force and gravity. So these are the four fundamental forces. लिखना नहीं है इसको, ठीक है? Now when we are going to talk about the earth receives heat from three sources. One is sun, another one is earth's interior, and third is gravity. So how gravity is going to create a heat? Basically, when there was a formation of earth, and in fact due to gravity, for example, if I'm going to drop this pen, it is going to strike my hand. With that it is going to create some pressure, and then there is some heat generated in that process. So during the initial time, when there was a collision of the two different particles which created the earth interior, then there was the gravitational force acting because it was attracting the things towards each other. And then it remains inside the earth itself. How? We are going to discuss it. So basically earth receives heat from three sources. One is endogenetic, another one is exogenetic, and third is gravity. Now this exogenetic, it means above the earth, it is controlled by sun. Write down this one. Earth receives heat from three sources: endogenetic, and write down in pointwise manner: exogenetic, in bracket from sun, and then gravity. The interaction of these forces leads to development of different landforms. So first we are going to talk about the endogenetic force, which is acting inside the earth. Then subsequently, when we are going to move towards the weathering, we have to study about the exogenetic. Sorry, it is endo. So endogenetic forces are being subdivided into two, which is diastrophic forces and sudden forces. Diastrophic and sudden, उसी को बोलते हैं दूसरे टर्म में. So what is a sudden force? Sudden force is going to act in some fraction of seconds. जैसे earthquake. Is it a slow process? Though the process is slow, but when you are going to feel earthquake, can you calculate it? No, and it is only for some few seconds. So sudden forces are again being subdivided into earthquake and volcanism, right? Now this diastrophic force, what is diastrophic force? It leads to the deformation of the earth crust, mountains and so on. Okay? It is again subdivided into two: aperogenetic and Orogenetic. Apiro means making up of the continents, moving up of the continents. And remember one term, orogenesis. So oro is basically the mountain building process. So it is the mountain building forces, and these are the forces which lead to the movement of the continents. You can also write it down again. This orogenetic forces are again subdivided into two: tensional force and compressional forces. Okay? And again epirogenetic is also subdivided into two: upward and downward. So a continent may be uplifting, it may be going down. So under these forces, we have to study your geomorphology and the concepts. Okay? Any question from this section? You may write it down. Dystrophism or dystrophic forces are basically deformation of the earth crust. Dystrophic forces are the deformation of the earth crust. Epirogenetic is the movement of the continents, ocean basin. Orogenetic, it is a mountain building process. It is a mountain building process. Okay? Now put the heading interior structure of earth. This is your first topic. So now we know that we have different layers of the earth. So basically we have different layer of earth, and prominently it is being sub-demarcated into three types, that is your core, mantle and the crust. But how we came to know about this structure? There must be some sources for that to study. So from where we get this information that there are many layers of the earth, such as just like an onion. You're going to peel one layer, another layer is going to come out. So how we are aware of this? There are three layers of earth, and there are again sub layers of earth also. So what are the sources to know about such sort of layers? That we have crust, mantle and core. Even there is a subdivision of core. It is being divided into outer core and the inner core. Outer core is liquid, inner core is solid. How this anomaly is there? Now there is one recent hypothesis which is emerging. It is hypothesis, it is not a theory, that your inner core is super ionic. Then we have a mantle. So mantle your almost consists of 67% of the earth total mass and approximately 85% of the total volume. So how we come to know about this structure? So we must have some sources about it. So we have generally two sources to know about the interior structure of the earth. First is your artificial sources and another one is your natural sources. Artificial sources are also termed as indirect source and natural one is also termed as direct source. Artificial or the indirect sources are mainly four types. One is temperature, another one is pressure, then it is gravity, which I was talking about, and then it is density. And if you are going to talk about the natural or direct, there are majorly two. One is your lava or magma. Why I have used this term lava and magma? See, what is lava and magma? Basically, magma is your molten rock. If a rock is going to melt under the temperature, it is converted into magma. And when it is lying inside the earth crust, below the surface, it is your magma, and once it is going to come over the surface, it is lava. Another source is, which is the most prominent and the most probable source, is your earthquake waves or seismic wave theory, which we have to study in detail. But obviously आपका optional है, so we have to study this in also detail. ठीक है? Draw this chart. Sources to know about interior structure of earth. There are two: artificial, indirect, natural and direct. Though I am going to show you some pictures, but try to draw the things by yourself. You have to draw more and more in geography. And if you are going to draw more and more in geography, you are going to fetch more and more marks. Subsequently, we are going to study how to draw even the map of India. 15 seconds में हो जाना चाहिए. ठीक है? So these are the sources. So first we are going to talk about the temperature. Now remember, there is a difference between the term heat and temperature. Heat is quite relative. For example, we have talked about the heat wave. So what is the heat wave condition in Europe? 30 पे आते ही मरना शुरू वहां पे. If it is 35, तो समझ जाओ it is a severe heat wave in Europe. And if there is a 35 degrees centigrade in India, it is a normal condition. We love it. We go out to watch a movie and we pray if it becomes around near 30 or 32. For example, last year I was in Shillong taking classes for the ALS itself. The temperature at night was around 2 to 3 degrees centigrade. Okay. So if I am saying 2 to 3 degrees centigrade temperature, this temperature is the exact measurement of that heat. But heat is quite relative. If a person who is living in Siberia in -10 and if he is going to come to India during summers, obviously he is going to face that heat wave. And if the temperature in Siberia goes up to some 20 degrees centigrade, they are going to die. Because they are not adaptable. जो आपका एक था कि adaptability क्या होती है? It's a very long term process. So even its average 32 to 35 degrees centigrade in Europe, it is a heat wave. They start dying. And recently this year it was some reported 327 deaths approximately. And even in India during heat wave, 148 deaths were reported in Uttar Pradesh itself. So heat is a relative term. Temperature is the exact measurement. ठीक है. So whenever we are going to say about temperature in degree centigrade, now if I am going to talk about the earth interior, the temperature at the core, now it has been again seen. Earlier in text it is written 5000 degree centigrade. ठीक है, वो पुराना हो चुका है. Last year this data came that the core of the earth is going to have a temperature of 6000 degree centigrade. ठीक है, and we are at the surface, and we are almost situated some billions of kilometers from the sun. But still, if the temperature is going to increase up to some 45 degrees centigrade, we say it is scorching heat. And the radius of earth is only approximately 6372, or on an average basis you can write it down 6400 kilometers. So if the core of earth is having a temperature of 6000 degrees centigrade, which is situated only up to a distance of some 6400 kilometers, two questions rises. First, why the temperature is increasing as we are going towards the center of the earth? There must be some phenomenon occurring. Second, why we are unable to face that heat? 6000 degree तो बहुत होता है. We cannot survive. So let us discuss first part. Why the temperature is increasing as we are going towards the center of the earth? You have already studied this in GS. Always remember, as we are going to move towards the center of the earth, gravity decreases. See, these are the fundamental concepts now. We are studying geography as well as we are studying standard 9th level science. And why gravity is going to decrease? It is given in your standard 9th NCERT. That's why I told you, you must have standard 9th NCERT science. Then it will be quite helpful for you to understand the basic concepts of the geography. अभी जी लिखा है ना, उस पर ही बात करेंगे हम लोग. अभी तो we are talking about the different sources. The first thing, why temperature is increasing. Now remember, there is a concept of radioactive decay and there is a concept of radioactive material. Do you know about the radioactivity? Or do you want me to explain it? Explain करूं? चलो ठीक है. See, what is going to happen कि there are neutrons, proton and electrons in a basic atom structure. ठीक है. Electrons are situated on the outer shell. It has a nucleus which consists of neutrons and protons. Protons are going to have a positive charge. Neutrons are going to have neutral charge, and electrons are called, they are going to have negative charge. And this rule was studied in standard 8th. The outer shells are going to be filled with the rule of 2n square. N is the number of shell. So if it is first shell, it will be consisting of 2 electrons. If it is second, then 2 square is 4, 4 into 2, 8. So second shell will be filled with 8 electrons and so on. For an atom to be a very stable one, right, number of proton is equal to number of neutron and it is equal to number of electron also. That is the basic structure. ठीक है? Now remember, proton plus neutron, it makes atomic mass. And the number of electron in the outer shell, it is your electronic number. Standard 10th पर था periodic table. सोडियम का क्या है? 10, 11. That means in the third shell, it is going to have one electron only. Okay? Now, if I'm going to say C612, it means it is going to have 6 electron. It is having 6 proton and 6 neutron. Now, if I'm going to say C613, C614, and so on, then what is happening? Number of proton must be equal to number of electron, but number of neutron may increase. आवाज की दिक्कत है क्या? So if we are going to say C613, it means it is going to have 6 electron, 6 proton, but number of neutron is 7. Here the number of neutron is 8. So number of neutrons are exceeding. Similarly, if I am going to take the case of U23295, U235, so you see the number of neutron is very high. So if the number of neutron is very high, the atom becomes unstable. It is going to go for the radioactive decay, and that decay is again different for different element. For example, hydrogen, it is having 3 shots of isotopes. This structure, basically the elements having same electron number but different mass number, they are known as isotopes. So different element have different sort of isotopes. For example, H11, H12, H13. But the disintegration, the radioactive disintegration of this hydrogen isotopes are in some in some microseconds. जितने में मैंने बातचीत किया ना, कई हाइड्रोजन टूट गए होंगे. In fact, this D2O, it is called heavy water. At present time, it is used in nuclear reactor. So with this radioactive disintegration, there is generation of heat, and that principle is utilized in nuclear fission reactors. A chain reaction is established. जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था U92-235 का, ठीक है? It has very high number of neutrons, so it is highly unstable, and this is original. It is occurring on its natural stage. Even in resources, you have to study that there is uranium, thorium. So uranium is extracted in India from the Jadugoda mines, which is near Bokaro. ठीक है, वहां से होता है. अब क्या करना है? I have to bombard it with a neutron. But the natural occurring ore of a uranium, it only consists of 0.2% of uranium. So there is a process of enrichment. For example, if you are going to refine the uranium ore, and if the concentration of uranium is increased up to 7 to 10%, it can be utilized as a nuclear fuel rods, which is used in your fission reactor. And if you are going to enrich this up to 90%, it will be used for atomic bombs. Okay? So with this enrichment, if I am going to bombard a neutron here, the uranium is going to split and it is going to release 3 neutrons. Again, these 3 neutrons will be again bombarding of this uranium. It will release 9 neutrons. Again 27, again 81, and so on. So this is termed as chain reaction. And once it is being generated, it is going to generate a very huge amount of heat. The temperature rises up to some 5,000 to 6,000 degrees centigrade, which happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay. So why the temperature is increasing as we are going downwards, which is 6,000 degrees centigrade? See, the earth crust, the mantle and the core, they consist of different types of isotopes. Uranium hai, hydrogen hai, and so on, nickel hai, iron hai, though nickel is quite stable one. So when we are going to go downwards, the isotopes increases, and with this isotopes they go for radioactive decay, and when they go for the radioactive decay, as we are moving inside towards the earth, the temperature is going to increase. But again, second question rises, if the temperature at the core, which is situated only some 6,400 kilometer, is 6,000 degrees centigrade, then why we are unable to feel it? Socho. Any answer? Electricity nahi. Your topmost layer, it is termed as crust, and its original name, the name is lithosphere. The term lith, L-I-T-H, it means rocks, and rocks are the bad conductor of heat. So if you are staying in Delhi, basically you are standing on Aravalli. Your Delhi is situated on Aravalli. It is the last point of Aravalli. So the rocks which are inside us, they are the bad conductor of heat, and that's why we are unable to sense this 6,000 degrees centigrade of heat. So the first answer, why the temperature is increasing? Temperature is increasing because presence of radioactive material goes on increasing as we are going towards the interior. And second, we are unable to sense the heat because topmost layer is consisting of rocks and it is a bad conductor of heat. But if you are going to touch, when we are going to talk about the bad conductor, do not write, what's your name? Kama, where are you from? Achha, Itanagar bhi gaya hu main. I visited that place. I think Arunachal students have better Hindi than Shillong or Manipur, right? Chalo. When I am going to say right, then only right. Because see, these are the basic concept. एक बार दिमाग से निकला कभी नहीं भूलेगा, और दिमाग से निकल गया तो भूल जाएगा, दिमाग में बिठा लिया तो याद रहेगा, उल्टा भूल गया मैं, ठीक है? Now any question from this? ठीक है, isotopes clear है? It is in standard 8th NCERT, I think. Haven't you studied Neil Bohr's Rutherford model? We used to study in standard 9th, huh? 9th 10th NCERT ले लेना, सब भूल गया है. Now draw this. Heading temperature लिखा है ना? Give the heading temperature. Any question from the online students? If you have. Write it down. As we go towards interior of the earth, the temperature goes on increasing. As we move towards the interior, the presence of different isotopes of an element increases, and with their radioactive decay, temperature goes on increasing. But we are unable to sense it. As the topmost layer crust is composed of rocks. Which are the bad conductor of heat. Diagram थोड़ा बना. What's your name? Rishi. Keshav, diagram थोड़ा बड़ा. The more diagram you are going to draw, the more number you are going to fetch. हमेशा ध्यान रख, एक डायग्राम 2 पॉइंट खत्म कर, और पॉइंट वाइज यू कैन ऑल्सो डिक्रीज द योर वर्ड्स. ठीक है. नाउ इन एग्जामिनेशन डू नॉट एक्सप्लेन द आइसोटोप्स, इट वाज ओनली फॉर द अंडरस्टैंडिंग. ठीक है, वो गलती मत करना. नाउ नेक्स्ट टर्म केशव, राइट, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट द ग्रेविटी. एज वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द अर्थ इंटीरियर, द ग्रेविटी इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज. नो, इट इज गोइंग टू डिक्रीज. तो चलो, आपका वो डाउट था, मैं क्लियर ही कर देता हूं. अगेन आई हैव टू टेक अ हेल्प ऑफ न्यूटन्स लॉ ऑफ मोशन. So what were the Newton's law of motion you had studied in standard 9th? There are 3 laws. Okay, and there was one Newton's universal law of gravitation. वही पढ़ा था. ठीक है, तो let's first talk about the your हिला हुआ concept, that is G. Now remember, we have discussed about the temperature, but what we have received from the temperature? It has only told you about that temperature is increasing with the radioactive decay with by the presence of isotopes, and we are unable to sense it. Is it giving a clear-cut idea about the interior of the earth? Your core is solid, your outer core is liquid. Is it giving that idea? That's why these are the indirect sources or the physical sources. It gives you something, but it does not clearly explain each and every aspect. Now coming to this factor of G, ठीक है, अब इसको समझना पहले, लिखना क्या है वो बाद में बताऊंगा. Now in standard 9th we have a universal law of gravitation. ठीक है, that is force is equal to G m1 m2 upon r square. याद आया? And then if I'm going to drop anything like this, it is attracted towards the center of the earth, and that is by force is equal to mg. ठीक है. Now अभी आपका कॉन्सेप्ट कुछ याद आ रहा है? Now let us take first case that we are going to move towards the interior of earth. That is approximately 6,400 kilometers. Can I equate these two equations? Suppose this is your pen, so it is also experiencing some force. So I am going to take it as m1, and mass 2 I am going to take mass of the earth. This is universal law. Even two celestial bodies are being attracted by this only. I can equate these two equations. So if I am going to equate these two equations, it will m1g will be equal to g m1 mass of the earth upon r square, right? And if we are going to say that our earth is almost spherical, though it is not, ये g ही हमें बता देगा कैसे. It is not a spherical. The shape of a earth is termed as geoid or oblate spheroid. But in this case, chalo, let us take the earth is almost a sphere. So what is the mass? I can cancel this m1 and m1. What is mass? What is the basic definition of mass and how we calculate the mass? Mass का ही formula भूल गया. Is volume into क्या हुआ साइंस बैकग्राउंड? Rama, what's your name, dear? आनंद, आदित्य. भाई मास का फॉर्मूला स्टैंडर्ड 6/7 समझेगा कि चलो ये एग्जाम में लिखना नहीं है, बट अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए इट इज वॉल्यूम इनटू डेंसिटी. ठीक है. नाउ दिस इज यूनिवर्सल कांस्टेंट. आई कैन एलिमिनेट दिस ऑल्सो. So G becomes proportional to mass of the earth upon r square. What is the volume of a sphere? हाँ, अभी ठीक जा रहा है. Volume of the sphere is 4/3 pi r cube. कुछ याद आया? We used to study in some geometry. कब था? स्टैंडर्ड 9th मैथमेटिक्स. And then it is the factor of density d. Now first case we have taken that we were going downwards. ठीक है. So when we are at this place, what is the effective distance of me from the center of the earth? 6400 kilometer. Suppose I dig a hole in this crust and I started moving towards the interior of the earth, and suppose I reach up to the depth of 3000 kilometer. What will be my effective distance now? 6400 minus 3000, it will be near about. But remember, my distance from first case is 6400 kilometer. That is the radius of the earth. When I am at some 3000 kilometer of depth, my effective distance from the center of the earth is again 3400. Now this is the effective radius now. So as I am going towards inside the earth, there is a reduction in the mass. जो ऊपर वाला मास था वो कहां गया? खत्म हो गया. So what is the effective radius now? 3400. So in this case, if I am going towards the interior of the earth, this R and this R are same. So if I am going to move towards the interior of the earth, in first case R is equal to R. तो क्या करेंगे? 4/3 pi r cube. नीचे भी क्या लिख देंगे? R square multiplied by density. G is proportional to 4/3 pi r into T. R क्या था? घट रहा है या बढ़ रहा है? As we are going towards the inside of the earth, the R is decreasing. G is proportional to, so G is going to decrease. So as we are going to move towards the inside of the earth, the G value decreases. Let's take second case. G proportional to mass of the earth upon r square. यही आया था. Now in second case, suppose I am going to take a spaceship and I am going to go up to some 3000 kilometers in space. ठीक है? What is the radius? 6400 kilometers. मैं कहां तक चला गया? 3000 और kilometers. What is the effective distance now from the center of Earth? 9400 kilometer. This is your R, but this is your exact distance. Now, if I am moving from above the surface, my effective distance is greater than the radius itself. G will be proportional to mass of the earth upon distance square. Distance is increasing or decreasing? So if the distance is increasing, G is going to decrease. Always remember first thing. G is maximum at surface. If you increase the height or you go towards the interior, G is going to always decrease. But remember, G can never be zero. G कभी zero नहीं होता. That is a myth. Even if you are going to bring two nucleus, there will be some distance between the centers. Zero gravity is nothing. The concept is weightlessness. For example, take a flight. ऊपर जाओ हवा में and take a jump. So if you are going to jump with a parachute, obviously, the air is going to have a drag. So that there is a critical velocity where you are going to feel the concept of weightlessness. But there is no concept of zero gravity. And this question has been asked in pre. What is going to happen to G if you are going to increase or decrease the height? So G value is going to decrease, never increases. Okay? Now, second thing, I told you a term that Earth is an oblate spheroid. It is not proper spherical. Why? It is flattened from the poles. But why it is flattened from the poles? Because of? See, Earth is rotating. So if Earth is going to rotate in circular rotation, there are two types of forces. Inside is centripetal, outside is centrifugal. याद आया? I can show it here. ठीक है. Let us suppose this one is the circular one, and this is the radius. See. This is the speed. Yes, moving, right? Now, suppose if I am going to move it, and suddenly I am going to cut this rope. This mic will be flown outward or inward? Outward. So basically what is going to happen, that this centrifugal force is termed as pseudo force. It does not exist. Okay? It is in fact the result of rotation itself. But Earth has one more fundamental force, that is gravity. So there are two forces acting inward and only one force is acting outward. Due to this, the impact is the Earth is bit flattened at the poles. And if Earth is bit flattened at the poles, that structure is termed as oblate spheroid. And if Earth is flattened at the poles, the radius at the equator as compared to the radius at the poles will be more. So R is greater than smaller r, and that is very true. So where the gravity will be maximum? At equator or at 90-degree poles? At equator the radius is more. Gravity is least at the equator, and as we are going to move towards the pole, the gravity is maximum. The average acceleration due to gravity is 9.8, so it is 9.79 approximately at the equator. It is 9.81.2 ऐसे करके it is at the poles. There is very minor difference, but still it is a difference. So remember, gravity tells us about the oblate spheroid nature of the earth. Does it tell us about your interior? It always gives you an idea that if you are going to move towards the interior, the gravity is going to decrease. If you are above the surface, the gravity is again going to decrease. Gravity will be maximum at the equator, minimum at the equator and maximum at the poles. But is it giving any idea about the interior structure? So that's why again it is an indirect source. Clear हुआ? Gravity पे लिख लो. Second factor was G. Write it down. As we move towards interior of the earth from the surface, or we gain altitude, gravity decreases. It is maximum at the surface. Change the second, change the line. Second point likho. Gravity is minimum at the equator. This is the latitudinal variation. Gravity is minimum at the equator and maximum at the pole. Gravity also defines the geoid shape of the earth. Gravity also defined the geoid shape of the earth. You may draw this picture here. ये draw करना चाहो तो कर लो. No detailed explanation is required. वो मत करना एग्जाम में. Now third topic was pressure. To come to pressure. Now what is pressure? पास्कल्स लॉ ऑफ प्रेशर पढ़ाया है, स्टैंडर्ड 7th में है, सब बचपन का चीज है. यूपीएससी इज ऑल अबाउट रिमेम्बरिंग योर बेसिक्स. क्या कर रहा है आदित्य? इट इज प्रेशर इज फोर्स अपॉन एरिया. ठीक है. And how we calculate it? There is a basic fundamental. There is a mercuric barometer. ठीक है. ये अभी बता देता हूँ. It will be also helpful in climatology. So do not repeat this topic in climatology again. ठीक है. Because climatology is all about pressure and temperature itself. So this is your barometer. It is filled with mercury. At the normal circumstances, the air is going to put pressure on a mercury, so the mercury level is going to rise up to 760 mm of Hg. This is your normal pressure. Suppose air become denser, okay? It is going to put a pressure over this mercury. So mercury column is going to rise if it is above 760 millimeter of Hg. Hg is your mercury, okay? It is your high pressure. If air is going to become warm, it becomes light, it rises upward, and if air is rising upward, what is going to happen? Mercury column will decrease. This is your low pressure. That's it. Anything below 760 is low pressure, anything above it is high pressure, and this is your normal pressure condition. Can I ask you one question? Which air is going to have more weight? Moist air or dry air? Moist air, dry air, moist air. ठीक है, चलो. Dry air, which is cold in nature, it is going to have maximum number of nitrogen and oxygen. So what is the molecular weight of nitrogen? 28. And what is the molecular weight of oxygen? Because 8% is your nitrogen and 21% is your oxygen. The rest are very small quantity. What is the molecular weight of oxygen? 32 O2 होता है. What is the total molecular weight? 60. Now come to moist air. Moist air mostly comprises of H2O. It has less nitrogen and your oxygen. Have you taken any steam bath? कभी लिया है सोना bath? So if you are going to take that sauna bath, it consists of exhaust. Because if the steam is going to increase, you are going to feel suffocation. क्योंकि उसमें oxygen कम हो जाता है. So it is mostly consisting of H2O. What is the molecular weight? 32 कैसे होगा? O एक ही है. 18. किसका weight ज़्यादा रहा? So dry air has more weight. But remember, this dry air must be cold. If this dry air is warm, then if you are going to heat anything, it is AC बंद करवाना है. Change कर लेना, इधर आ जा. If the air is going to become warm, the air particle are going to gain the kinetic energy, and then they are going to move upward. Okay? So if the air is cold and dry, then it is going to compress the air. Air column, mercury column is going to rise. It is high pressure, and this is low pressure. So common pressure is 760. But as you are going towards the center of the earth, the pressure which is being seen is 3.5 million times as compared to 1 atmospheric unit of a pressure. 35 lakh गुना ज़्यादा है. And see how it is going to have an impact. ठीक है? Let us suppose this is your surface, and this is universal thing. As we are going to move upward, pressure is always going to decrease. If we are going to move towards the interior of the earth, pressure is always going to increase. This is the universal thing. Okay? Because as we are moving downward, the concentration of heavier particles are there. तो force upon area के हिसाब से वो क्या करेगा? Pressure increase कर देगा. And as we are moving towards upward, the air becomes rarer. So that's why it is going to have a less pressure. It is universal one. ठीक है? Now suppose I am at the surface, and if somebody is not satisfied with the science part of geography, he is hating me, and suddenly, I'm using the term suddenly, ठीक है? Suddenly suppose करो कि आदित्य क्या करता है, मुझे माउंट एवरेस्ट पे भेज देता है at the top. I'm using the term suddenly, not climbing it. So suddenly from Delhi, I'm straight at the top of Mount Everest, having the height of 8,850 मीटर. ये चेंज हो गया, 48 था, अभी 50 हो गया है नए डेटा से. What is going to happen to me? That's why I told you I'm deliberately using the term suddenly. I will explode. Why? Because I am not accustomed to such low pressure. Abhi I am at high pressure, and again I am at the very low pressure. My body is going to because that's why I use the term suddenly. Have you taken any flight? It is pressurized and again it is depressurized as you take off or you land. And takeoff is a sudden, so you cannot have such impact on an ear. But if it is landing, it is a painful for your ears. Why? Because landing is a very long process. तो उसमें प्लेन धीरे 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 करके आता है नीचे, तो आपको वो प्रेशर फील होगा. But again, it is a slow process. Suddenly, if you are going to take it, then your body is going to burst. This question has been asked in UPSC. As you are going downwards, what is going to happen? Pressure is going to increase. Now again suppose कि रोशन केशव धीरे धीरे याद होगा नाम. So Keshav is going to throw me in Mariana Trench, having the depth of 11,022 meter. So if I am in Mariana Trench, what is going to happen to me? I will be crushed, squeezed down. If it is a sudden, UPSC asked this question. I don't remember the year. It was in pre. Maybe in CPA for this one, a deep water fish was brought up to the surface. What happened to the fish? What is going to happen to fish? क्या होगा? Burst कर जाएगी. It is at the high pressure. This is now low pressure for this fish. So fish is going to explode. This was the answer. Even if you are going to visit Siachen sometime, ठीक है, अगर मन किया तो, अगर परमिशन मिल गई तो you cannot go Siachen in one go. You have to go through 2 different base camps because your body is not suitable for that. Even sometime if you are going to visit Nathula, because I have visited that place, Nathula, it is in Sikkim. ठीक है, and one was basically having a sort of a hysteria. He was literally having breathlessness because it is at the very high altitude. So this is the concept of a pressure. But if the pressure is so much, the pressure is 3.5 million times than the atmospheric pressure or the pressure at the surface, anything cannot survive. It must be crushed down. But it is not happening. We are surviving. So again, why it is happening? So pressure is going to give an idea ki what is the difference, and such sort of a strong pressure is going to have an impact on your environment also. So why again it is happening? This is not being answerable by the pressure itself. So that's why it is again a indirect source. Write it down, pressure. As we move upward, the pressure always decreases and as we go downwards towards the interior, pressure always increases. The pressure at the center of the earth is 3.5 million times than the pressure at the surface. Such a strong pressure is going to have major impact on the environment also. Full stop. अच्छा, write down one line in temperature. I forgot. ठीक है. The average rate of increase of temperature as we are going to go towards inside the earth is 1 degree centigrade for 32 meter. This is the data. You have to write down in an exam. The average increase of temperature is 1 degree centigrade per 32 meter. Basically, there was a deep drill project which was taken by Russia, and it was at Verkhoyansk. From there, we have obtained this data, but it is only on an average basis, not an accurate one. Okay? The next physical factor is density. So we are going to discuss about the density later on. Coming to the next is your natural sources. So one is magma and lava. And there is one section, volcanism. I think in lecture 6 we have to deal with the volcanism. Lecture 5 or 6? 5. So volcanism, landform. So I am going to go for in details of the lava in that lecture. The rest is earthquake waves. अभी कुछ लिखना मत. Or seismic waves. ठीक है? Now again it is a wave. So wave is again science topic. तो जितना साइंस पढ़ना है आज ही पढ़ना है, कल से नहीं पढ़ाऊंगा, कल से ज्योग्राफी पढ़ाऊंगा. What is wave? Wave is a disturbance produced. अच्छा, see, stick to the basic. I am telling you. ठीक है? I always give an example. What is food chain? ये तो पढ़ा होगा food chain. क्या है? So what is the definition of food chain? नौ वर्ड 10 वर्ड लिख दिया ना. मैंने अपने ओरिएंटेशन में इसलिए आप लोग नहीं आया था. Or there are 19 questions which is asked in optional and 20 in GS, and you have to solve 19 questions. Sorry, the questions are being asked more. So for one question, how many time is allotted? 7 minutes. लिखना कितना है? 150 words. And trust me, in few of the question, while you are writing down the answer, you are going to exceed 200. मजबूरी है. But in geography, you can write down in a point-wise manner. First thing. Second thing, what is the definition of food chain? It is khatam. If you sorry, if you can define the thing in 3 words, why you are taking 10 words? If you are going to take down 10 words, then you are extending your time limit. You won't be able to finish the paper. This you have to learn. Try to develop those skills कि अगर कुछ नहीं आता है तो खींच के लिख दे, और जब बहुत कुछ आता है तो छोटे में लिखे, मगर लिखना है. And suppose if you are going to write down 200 words in each and every question, in 20 question, how many words are there? 4,000. Do you think it is possible? Not even by me. In geography, I can go up to 30 to 35 words per minute because I have studied it for last 20 years. In exam, nobody is going to dictate you. You have to think and then write it down. Though the questions are bit predictable, but remember UPSC is highly unpredictable. ठीक है? तो try to develop those skills. कोटा कम में लिखो ना, ज्यादा लिखने की जरूरत क्या, ग्रेजुएशन थोड़ी है यार, कम लिखो. चलो कहाँ था? Earthquake wave. Now wave is again a science, ठीक है? So wave is a disturbance produced and it is a form of energy, right? Waves are basically defined into two types. One is longitudinal, one is transverse. So what is wave? And remember, it is going to help you again in climatology and tsunami. The basic fundamental is, it is your crest, it is your trough, and the distance between the two crests or the two trough is your wavelength, which is termed as lambda. And there was very basic equation related to wave is V is equal to mu lambda, where this is your frequency. So chalo, I am going to write it down as F. It is frequency lambda. That simply means कि frequency is inversely proportional to wavelength and wavelength is inversely proportional to frequency. If you will be forgetting all these things, then please, on some side note, you may write it down in your text also, but do not describe it in your exam. It is not necessary. Okay? And similarly, we have gone for doing a prism experiment during our school days. Okay? There is a ray which is divided into 7 colors. It is Vibgyor. And I have deliberately written it in reverse order. Why? When there is a rainbow, which color is on the top? Is it red or it is violet? It is red. ये क्वेश्चन भी पूछा है, ठीक है? Remember, if you are going to move from violet to red, the wavelength is going to increase, and if you are going to move from red to violet, the frequency is going to increase. So violet has the maximum frequency, red is having the maximum wavelength and least frequency. That's why red color is used as a sign of danger. It can be seen from a distance. This question has also been asked. ठीक है? प्री में साइंस पढ़ रहा है आप लोग, तो चलो, दिस इज द बेसिक वेव, ठीक है, एंड दिस इज योर हाइट, ठीक है. एंड वेव्स आर ऑफ टू टाइप, वन इज लॉन्गिट्यूडनल एंड वन इज ट्रांसवर्स. So suppose if I am talking to you, is it a longitudinal or a transverse? It is longitudinal. Sounds are longitudinal. For example, whatever I am saying, my mouth is giving a short of a disturbance to the air column which is present just here, then it is going to compress itself, then expand, then compress, then expand, and it reaches up to your ear. So remember that longitudinal waves moves by the phenomenon of compression and rarefaction. Compression and rarefaction, and they requires a material medium. जैसे साउंड है ना, वैक्यूम में कोई साउंड नहीं हो सकता. And if the density is going to increase, their speed also. For example, in your classroom, if there is an air column, the average speed is 330 kilometers per second. So in this, the particles are going to move along the waves. and then there is transverse wave. Transverse wave, let's take an example of light. In transverse wave, the waves are going to transfer their energy. For example, between sun and earth, there is a vacuum. Then how we are receiving this one? This sunlight. So it is a transfer. They just immediately transfer the particle. The particle does not move towards it. And the movement is always perpendicular to the direction. That's why I have drawn like this only. So these are the two types of wave. Now, if you know the nature of the wave, can you know the nature of the material? कैसे? तो standard 10th में you might have studied about the Snell's law. It is given in standard 10th. ठीक है? Where you have to calculate the refractive indexes. ठीक है? Sin theta I, sin theta R. So what was the basic thing? The basic thing is पानी. Let's take a glass. This is given in standard 10th NCERT. This is air and this is air. Air is a rarer medium and glass is a denser medium. So if wave is going to travel from rarer to denser, it is going to bend towards the normal. And normal is your 90-degree perpendicular. And if a wave is going to move from denser to rarer, it is going to move away from the normal. And if you are going to parallelly draw this one, it will be parallel to each other. And then we had to calculate the refractive index, sin theta incidence upon sin theta incidence upon sin theta reflection. देखो, depending upon the medium, wave can propagate. For example, if this is your opaque medium, then waves are being obstructed. ठीक है? A glass is transparent medium, so your waves can be moved. Now you can easily say it is being bended. ये सीधा नहीं दिखेगा आपको. So that means the waves are transforming from some denser to rarer medium, and in that process the waves are refracting. They can also be reflected, and if we know this angle of incident upon the refraction, we can calculate the refractive index, and if I know the refractive index, I can know the material. And if you are going to take down your NCERT standard 10th science, there are a list of refractive indexes which are being given. For example, if it is near 2.42, it is your diamond. Glass has different, and each and element have different. Okay? So this is the wave phenomenon. This is the wave propagation. Now, whenever there is an earthquake, which we are going to study, the science of earthquake is basically seismology. And in seismology, there is a seismograph which detects the magnitude and the intensity. Earthquake is a separate topic which has been written down there. We are going to take that seismograph. It is based on a log table in that section. So how earthquake is going to happen? It will be starting from your lecture 3, I think, plate tectonics. So what is basic concept of earthquake? When earthquake is going to occur, okay, earthquake is the general shaking of the ground. That is the basic definition. For example, if there is a volcanism, if there is a landslide, if there is a movement of the plate, if the plates are going to collide, if they are going to be separated, which you have to study in plate tectonics, then there will be earthquake. And when earthquake is there, then different types of waves are generated. Is it all clear? Then different types of waves are generated. So earthquake waves are being divided into, likhna mat, divided into two types. One is body wave, then there is surface wave. Basically, body waves are those waves which reside inside the earth crust, but as they enters the earth crust, they are again subdemarcated into surface waves. So body waves are again of two type, P waves, and you can expect any question from this section. Okay, it was your 2010 mains question because I had given that mains because I know that. P waves, or it is termed as primary waves, or it is termed as longitudinal wave. Other one is S wave, or secondary waves, or transverse wave. Surface waves are again being demarcated into two. One is a relic wave and another one is love wave. Okay? Now write it down. Seismic wave theory. Seismic wave theory. It is the most probable source. It is the most probable source to know about the interior of the earth. Now I'm saying most probable, it is not the most accurate. Still, we are searching it. When earthquake occur, different sets of waves are generated. Different sets of waves are generated. Now draw this chart. Now from here onwards we have started studying geography. अभी तक साइंस चल रहा था. Now once you have drawn this chart, no words will be counted and you are better explaining the things. खत्म, यही चीज होती है. So in geography these charts, flow charts, diagrams are more prominent. And you are going to write down the points in you are frame down your answer in point wise manner. अगर मैं बोला हूं कि 150 में खत्म करूंगा तो मैं खुद खत्म करूंगा और वो आदत आपको बाकी जगह लानी है. ठीक है? तो फर्स्ट इज प्राइमरी वेव्स. गिव द सब हेडिंग प्राइमरी वेव्स. प्राइमरी वेव्स. नाउ पॉइंट वाइज ABC करके लिखना हो या जस्ट गिव द बुलेट मार्क्स. ठीक है? फर्स्ट, दे आर लॉन्गिट्यूडनल इन नेचर. दे आर longitudinal in nature. They move by the phenomenon of compression. They move by the phenomenon of compression and rarefaction. Draw this diagram. Draw this diagram. ठीक है. They are analogous. Analogous means मिलता जुलता है. They are analogous to sound waves. They are first to reach seismograph. They are first to reach seismograph. They follow the role. They follow the law of reflection and refraction. They follow the law or rule of reflection and refraction. अब इस चीज को समझो. Now there are seismograph which is being placed all over the earth, so these record these waves. ठीक है. The deepest recorded earthquake which has been recorded till date is at the depth of 700 kilometers. ठीक है. Now obviously अगर 700 kilometers पे हम जाते हैं and we have all the mappings over the world and there are approximately 3000 of the earthquake which occurs daily, but we cannot have that sense because below 4 it is not a disaster one, or even you cannot feel. If the magnitude is 5, Richter scale 5, then few of the sensible people who have more senses can feel it, but from 6 onward everyone can feel that earthquake. 6.4 devastating, 7 पे आ गया highly devastating, 8 आया catastrophic, 9th आया सब खत्म, 10th Richter scale है ही नहीं, because it is said कि beyond this level the earth will be ripped apart, though that is hypothesis again. तो 9 के ऊपर कुछ है ही नहीं उसमें. So it was mapped, and by mapping it was seen कि these P waves which are longitudinal in nature, so they required a material medium. लिखना हो तो भी लाइन लिख लो. They require a material medium to propagate. They require a material medium to propagate. And when it was mapped, it was seen that these waves are bending themselves, and the bend was from some depth, and again it was reappearing on different sides. But when the waves are bending, there will be some region where these waves are not detected. Similarly, for example, if we have gone for the Snell's law of reflection and refraction, the wave is bending. Wave कहाँ detect होना चाहिए था? यहाँ. Detect कहाँ हुआ? यहाँ. So there is some shadow zone where the wave is not detected. Similarly, what happened? When these waves were mapped, it was seen from 2 points they are first deviating, so that if I am going to divide Earth into 2 hemispheres, and if I am going to count the degrees, so from 103 degrees to 143 degrees, if I am going to divide Earth in 2 parts, it is hemisphere. So in both the hemisphere, from 103 to 143 degree, these waves were not detected. To better understand it, This is your world map. So let us suppose that earthquake is going to occur in Himalaya. Himalaya is a very high earthquake zone. So the waves are traveling. Waves will be detected in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran and so on. But from one point, it will be deflected. So if there is an earthquake near Himalayan region, this region is not detecting it. And again, if I am going to draw these two hemispheres, from this point they will be bending and there will be again refraction. So if it is reflecting, again this zone, it is not being detected, though it will be detected in Africa, and similarly so on. Is this clear? Now if it is happening, so from 103 degree to 143 degree in both the hemisphere, these waves are not detected. It is termed as shadow zone. So first thing, these are bending and these are refracting. It was seen the major reflection is not from one surface but two surfaces. What this mapping tells us? First thing, suppose if the earth would have been made of homogeneous material. Material are two types, homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous material have same composition, hetero have different composition. If earth would have been composed of the homogeneous material, will there be curving or the bending of the waves? होता या नहीं होता? अगर अर्थ होमोजीनियस मटेरियल का होता तो बेंडिंग होता? नहीं होता. क्या होता? वेव्स सीधा चली जाती. But first it is curving, bending, and from two major points it is reflecting. So what it tells कि earth is not composed of your homogeneous material, first. Second, कि earth is made up of different concentric shells. And why these waves are reflecting? These are reflecting because of the difference of the density. Similarly, as in this case we had seen कि rarer to rarer गया, so rarer to denser गया, denser to rarer आया, wave bend कर गया. So that means there is a major change in density inside the earth. And when there is this sort of a major type of a change in density, it means that our earth is made up of concentric layers of shells. It is just like a ping pong ball used in tennis, table tennis, inside a tennis ball which is being placed inside a football. So it clearly indicates that there are different layers. Okay? Any confusion? Now, right, draw this diagram. I can show you many diagrams, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, but you have to draw it. This is the propagation of P waves, S waves, and so on. This is the more detailed one. You can draw in the same picture also. पहले मुझे insert कर लेने दो. Or you can draw in different one also. ठीक है? So the place of occurrence is, it is epicenter or focus. Place of occurrence of earthquake. It is focus. and the place vertically over it at the ground, it is your epicenter. ठीक है, तो देखो यहां पर आया और यहां से चला गया, तो यहां से अगर वेव बेंड हो रहा है, दैट मीन्स देयर इज चेंज इन डेंसिटी. दैट्स व्हाई इन बोथ द हेमिस्फीयर फ्रॉम 103 to क्या हो जाता है इसको यार, there is no p waves in both the hemisphere if I'm going to take this as a hemisphere. ठीक है, तो this wave establishes two facts. First, your earth is made up of concentric shells type structure, and second, your earth is composed of different types of material. It is a heterogeneous one. ठीक है, draw this one by your hand. Write it down. P waves not only curve themselves but are also being refracted from two major concentric shells, which establishes two facts. First, Earth is not a homogeneous material. Earth is not composed of homogeneous material. It has varying density. It has varying density. Second, Earth is composed of concentric layers of shells. ठीक है. Second, S waves. Give the heading secondary waves or S waves. पहला, it is transverse in nature. Draw this diagram. They are transverse in nature. और डायग्राम बिल्कुल स्लोप में करना, फ्री हैंड. ठीक है, एक्यूरेट तो कभी नहीं बनने वाला. They are second to reach seismograph. They are second to reach seismograph. They are analogous to light wave. They cannot pass through liquid. Now see, compare these two diagrams. P wave was curving itself, it was bending, it was refracting, and there was a shadow zone, but clearly it was going from the midsection. But as the S wave reaches, right from where the P waves were bending, S wave cannot pass through liquid. So right from 103 to 103 degree in both the hemisphere, S waves are absent. It proves one thing, that there is something liquid inside. नहीं तो ऐसा होता ही नहीं. और P wave क्या बोल रहा है कि अंदर कुछ ना कुछ solid है. So S wave clearly establishes one fact, that your outer core is liquid in nature. And why it is liquid? Because as we are moving towards the interior of the earth, the temperature is increasing. So it is in liquid state. But P wave cross करता है तो पता चलता है inner core क्या है, solid है. So because of this nature, we are more confirm about the liquid outer core. ठीक है? Draw this picture. Shadow zone of S wave electron. Shadow zone of S wave. This is shadow zone of P wave. S waves S wave is absent from 103 degree to 103 degree in both the hemisphere, which clearly establishes that outer core is liquid in nature. That outer core is liquid in nature. Now come to the last one, surface waves. अभी तक कितना वर्ड हुआ, कितना वर्ड हो गया? सिस्मिक वेव थ्योरी 100, चलो कम है उससे, चलो ठीक है और अच्छा. Come to surface wave. They are also known as L waves. They are also known as L waves. They are last to reach seismograph. They are last to reach seismograph. They are highly destructive in nature. Now see what is going to happen. It generates the love and the relic wave. So when the earthquake is, what is earthquake? It is simple general shaking of the surface. Okay. So as if you are throwing a stone in a pond, it is going to create ripples. That is up and down movement. So if the earth is moving in up down movement, it is termed as relic wave. ठीक है? Have you seen the movement of snake? It moves in horizontal manner. So if the earth is moving in horizontal manner, that is some sort of a stress, then it is termed as love wave. Always remember, love is just like a snake. It is going to bite you. ठीक है? तो प्यार करोगे तो धोखा भी खा सकता है. So when the earth is going to move in stressful manner, just like a snake, it is termed as love wave. That's why these are the most destructive one, because when it occurs, the ground is not only shaking upward, downward, but it is also shaking horizontally, and they create the destruction. They are basically generation of your P and S waves when it strikes the earth crust, and then these two sets are generated. So now draw this picture. Relic, R-U-I, relic, L-E-I-G-H. The upward downward movement of the earth during earthquake is the relic wave, and the horizontal stress is love wave. Now, if there is a bending of the wave with their speed, if we are going to determine their bends, can we know the nature of the material present inside the earth? By the same law, if you know the refractive index, you can know the material. And we have now sophisticated equipments also. There are some anomalies which are being detected also. So that's why we have written that it is the most probable theory. So on the basis of this theory, we have established the interior structure of the earth. That's why, because they are calculatable. Temperature, pressure, heat, gravity, it is not a clear indication. Lava we have counted as a direct source. So suppose if lava is going to come out, what you can decipher from that? अब लावा अगर बाहर आया तो पिघला हुआ है. Now it can be chemically composed. ठीक है, so it is having more silica, less silica. What nature of elements are present there? There is more nickel, more iron, or more phosphorus, or anything. Then at what temperature the lava is flowing out? ठीक है, if you are going to see one video, छोड़ो, that is in volcanism detail से दिखा दूंगा, ठीक है. You can see it at your home also. It is openly on YouTube. You just plug the Hawaiian eruption or Icelandic eruption. So you can see that lava is in Hawaii. Hawaii is a part of a USA. In map we have to going to go for it. So Hawaii is basically an island, and you can see the continuous lava flow. And it is being erupting from last 4 to 5 lakhs year, and it is going to continue for some your 40 lakhs year. अभी वो चल 40 lakhs year is nothing in geography, ठीक है. शिवालिक is only 15 lakh year old, बस 15 लाख साल पुराना है. So you have to also play with this data. It is only 15 lakh year old, ठीक है. Himalaya is only 6.5 crore year old and it is young fold. तो ये डेटा से कंफ्यूज मत होना, ठीक है. Now on this basis we can calculate your nature of material, we can calculate the temperature, we can calculate the pressure and so on. So on the basis of this, the scientists have given the interior structure of earth, ठीक है. मैं उससे पहले draw करूंगा, then you are also going to draw it. और मेरे पास जगह कम है, तो you are going to draw it on a separate page because there is more and more information over it only, ठीक है. So the first layer of the earth is your crust, ठीक है. Now crust is composed or bifurcated into two parts. The topmost layer of crust, this is your crust, or it is termed as lithosphere, ठीक है. The topmost layer of crust is your sial, which simple means silica and aluminum. One of the basic question which is not being asked in UPSC, but it is a very prominent question in your state services, that which metal is most prominent in earth crust? It is aluminum. Silica is, what is silica? What is sial? It is silica plus aluminum. The answer will be aluminum. And obviously you are going to go for your state services. वहाँ पे question बहुत frequented है, ठीक है. Now it forms your continents. The sial is your continent. So everywhere if there is a land, it is your sial. And the basic rock type, the structure is granite. This you have to study in rocks, ठीक है. The second layer of your crust, it is sima, which is silica plus magnesium. The sial has an average density of 2.7 gram per centimeter cube. But as we are going to move down, the density is going to increase. So sima has average density of 3 gram per centimeter cube. Now obviously the difference of sima, it is basically composed of basalt. Again, it is a very hard type of a rock, and it forms your ocean floor. तो जहां ocean floor मिल जाए, that is sima. जहां continent मिल जाए, वहां पे sial. But obviously there is a difference in density, ठीक है. So whenever there is a difference in density, and that was calculated on the bending of the waves, ठीक है. There is a scientist who found, though this layer is bit blurred, it is termed as Conrad. It is termed as Conrad discontinuity. Discontinuity simply means that layer from where the density is going to change, ठीक है. This is all about your crust or lithosphere. Draw करो और इस पे लिखना, मेरे पास जगह नहीं है, मैं अभी फिर मेंटल पे आऊंगा. आई थिंक हर्षा यू हैव स्टडीड इन जीएस. ये पोर्शन तो सेम है. ऑलमोस्ट 50-60% सिलेबस ओवरलैप होता है जीएस से. Finish writing down. The thickness of the crust, तो लिख लो लाइन में कहीं पे, thickness of the crust varies the average thickness is 90 to 100 kilometers. The average thickness varies from 90 to 100 kilometers and reaches up to 170 kilometers. Is 90 to 100 kilometers, but it reaches up to 170 kilometers. Acha, one question, where the thickness of the crust will be more? On Sial or on Saima? On Sial. Saima is oceanic, नीचे रहता है. Write it down. Undoubtedly, and remember that this line is only given in one book, Strahler. Undoubtedly, the thickness of crust is more beneath the Sial. Finish writing? Now, as we move beyond this layer, the major portion of your earth, interior of the earth, is your mantle. Or mantle, it is also known as mesosphere. एक mesosphere ऊपर भी है, atmosphere, but what is the term of mesos? In middle. That's it, it is mesosphere. अभी लिखना मत. This mantle is approximately 67% or 2/3 of your earth mass and approximately 85% of the total volume. ठीक है? Here there is a range of density. It starts from 3.3 and reaches up to average of 7.5 gram per centimeter cube. But the average density of mantle, it is your 5. It is your 5.5 gram per centimeter cube. And remember that this is your average density of the earth also. ठीक है? हम पूरा mantle count करेंगे. Now, just beneath this layer, there is one fused layer which runs approximately up to 50 kilometers. तो ऐसा नहीं कि क्रस्ट मैंटल से बिल्कुल अलग है, some part is embedded also, and just below that there is asthenosphere. ठीक है, basically this is your magma chamber. There is prominence of 10 element in this your mantle, but the most prominent one are the iron, magnesium, silicate. Iron, magnesium, silica. Though there is presence of oxygen and XYZ also, lead भी है, वो सब भी है, nickel भी है, but these are the three main component. And when it comes over the surface, obviously its combined ore is known as olivine. Remember that it has a rich presence of olivine. यहीं से बनता है वो. Now, as we are moving towards the change of density, again between the crust and your mantle, there was one scientist who established that layer कि कहाँ से density change हो रही है, and it is more accurate as compared to Conrad. Conrad was a bit of blood layer, and this name was Mohoverish or Moho discontinuity. But as we are moving down, see the difference of the average density is 3.3 to 7.7. So in between the mantle, there is again a major change of density. We have taken the average one, and that change of layer of the density, it was founded by Repeti. So it is Repeti discontinuity. Just below this, your asthenosphere, up to this region above the core, it is also known as pyrosphere. But remember, it is bit fused. Your 50 up to the depth of 50 kilometers, your crust is also just above this magma chamber. Now, as we are moving down, the temperature is increasing, but it is not liquid. Your magma chamber or asthenosphere in a semi-plastic molten state. जैसे प्लास्टिक को पिघला देते हो ना, तो it is not a liquid. So it is in that state. ठीक है? Now write down about the mantle. एग्जाम में ऐसे भी ड्रॉ करके लिख सकते हो, या ये ड्रॉ करके फिर इसको पॉइंट वाइज में भी लिख सकते हो, जैसे चाहो. Finished? Now again, सही हुआ, चलो. We are going to move towards the third layer, that is your core, also known as knife. Why? It is nickel iron. It is composed of nickel and iron. So core is your knife. Now, as again there is abrupt change of density, तो फिर से एक साइंटिस्ट आए, उन्होंने इस लेयर को डिटरमाइन किया. द नेम वाज गुटेनबर्ग. सो इट इज गुटेनबर्ग discontinuity. Now remember, from here there is no presence of S wave. So your core was again subdivided into two parts. That means your outer core is liquid and your inner core is solid. बस हो गया. द एवरेज डेंसिटी 13.3 ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर क्यूब. टेम्परेचर 6000 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड. But again there is a change of discontinuity between outer liquid core and solid inner core. So again this was found by perhaps the first female scientist, जो ज्योग्राफी से रिलेटेड थी, लेहमन, इंजे लेहमन. So it is Lehman discontinuity. So we have 5 discontinuity. Conrad, between the crust. Between the crust and mantle it is moho. Between the mantle it is Repeti. Between the mantle and the core it is Gutenberg, and within the core it is Lehman. Now almost rest of the 32% of the mass is your core. So crust kuch nahi, it is a thin sheet of a paper over a football ball, and it is floating over that your magma chamber, and that floating is the continents moving, and when the continents move it is aperogenetic. They collide to leads to the mountain formation, it is orogenetic. कल से वही करेंगे. Now just go through the notes, check any questions is required, and the students who are online, do you want to ask any question? अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ, I am going to ask few of the questions. हाँ, asthenosphere के नीचे, asthenosphere is the topmost part of your mantle. ठीक है? Then there is that layer which is termed as pyrosphere. Altogether, asthenosphere, pyrosphere, they are mantle or mesosphere, and this is your barosphere. Barosphere नहीं खाया, oh. The core is also third name is barosphere. नाइफे कह लो, कोर कह लो, barosphere कह लो, तीनों एक ही चीज है. क्योंकि एग्जाम में कौन सा टर्म देगा मुझे नहीं पता. Now, my question first. If there is an objective choice question, which wave clearly identifies the interior structure, and there is no multiple choice? P wave, S wave, relic wave, love wave. S wave. S wave clearly establishes outer liquid core, which was not established by P wave. सोचो, मैंने पहले कहा था ज्योग्राफी सोचने की चीज है. अच्छा, विच फिजिकल फैक्टर, प्रेशर, ग्रेविटी, डेंसिटी और टेम्परेचर हैज शेप्ड योर इंटीरियर स्ट्रक्चर? It is density. Denser the material, it settled downwards. And the things which we have studied from the science, it is not required to be written down in your exam. It was only for the explanation. Now there is a concept of temperature which is 6000. There is a concept of pressure which is 3.5 million times the atmospheric pressure. So why our inner core is solid though outer core is liquid? ये तो होना नहीं चाहिए. So there is a concept of critical point pressure. ठीक है. Now this fundamental is basically of a higher level physics. ठीक है. So there is a concept of triple point. You increase the temperature, you increase the pressure, then there will be one point, okay, that is called triple point, where the things are going to exist in all the three forms of matter. How many forms of matter are there? States of matter are there? 5. Solid, liquid, कैसे 9th का NCERT फर्स्ट चैप्टर उसका पीछे पढ़ना. बोस, आइंस्टीन, कंडेंसेट एंड प्लाज्मा. NCERT पढ़ो सब. तो अराउंड 4.4 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड वाटर हैज दिस प्रॉपर्टी की इट इज बिट इन अ वेपरस फॉर्म, बिट इन अ सॉलिड फॉर्म, लिक्विड फॉर्म, तीनों में एग्जिस्ट करता है. एंड देन इट इज सिंपल दैट यू इंक्रीज द टेम्परेचर, थिंग्स विल बी लूजिंग द डेंसिटी. वो सॉलिड से लिक्विड, लिक्विड से गैस, इंक्रीज मोर टेम्परेचर, प्लाज्मा. तो ये सब बेसिक चीज है स्टैंडर्ड 9th में. फर्स्ट चैप्टर दैट इज स्टेट ऑफ मैटर. बट सपोज आफ्टर दिस ट्रिपल पॉइंट, if I goes on increasing the pressure and the temperature, then there will be one critical point pressure, and here the pressure plays the role. So your crust is there, which is composed of rock solid, then asthenosphere semi molten, then your mantle thoda sa और पिघला हुआ but still in solid, your core completely, outer core completely liquid, but as you crosses the outer core, the pressure reaches up to 3.5 million times of the atmospheric pressure. After this critical pressure, if it is achieved, you go on increasing the temperature. Nothing is going to happen, the thing is going to remain solid. And because of this critical pressure which we had discussed earlier, your inner core is solid in nature. अब उसका टेम्परेचर 10,000 भी कर दो तो निकल आयरन का वो क्रिटिकल पॉइंट प्रेशर आ गया है. अभी कोर अगर 10,000 डिग्री भी आ जाए तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, वो सॉलिड ही रहेगा. नाउ देयर इज वन हाइपोथेसिस कि अभी नया है, लास्ट ईयर दिस रिसर्च वाज पब्लिश्ड, कि इट इज super ionic in nature, but again it is a hypothesis, so we are not going to discuss the hypothesis in class. फिर तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा, नहीं तो इतना रिसर्च आता रहता है, मत पूछो. उसको पढ़ने की भी कोई जरूरत नहीं है, उस पर क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा. हाँ हो जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इवन क्या होता है कि जैसे let's talk about the P wave. Here we are at the outer core. Now the speed of a P wave in outer core first decreases. Why? Because P wave is now crossing through the liquid, and remember P wave was analogous to sound wave. तो यहां पर हाइड्रोस्टैटिक प्रेशर लगता है पानी की जैसा. So first its speed is going to decrease, and then successively as the density increases, it increases. And the speed here is only 3 to 5 kilometer per second. मगर जैसे ही crust पे आएगा, it is a solid material, the speed is going to increase. So now our equipments are becoming more and more accurate. तो हम और ज्यादा उसको समझने लग गए हैं. Even you will be surprised to know that beneath the Philippines, this region is Philippine. After this geomorphology we are going to go for map work. ठीक है, तो उसमें और भी क्लियर करूंगा. This is your Philippine plate. You have to study in plate tectonics. So it is your Saima. इसके नीचे there is an ocean. It has been detected. This is anomaly. Ocean just above your magma chamber. And it consists of the pure water also. So our equipments are becoming more and more refined. So we are knowing more and more about it. Just during the Corona times, in fact, Japan, they had to initiate, just prior to Corona, they had to initiate a deep drill project. But again, Corona was there, so it was cancelled. So abhi bhi kya hai ki what we know in geography is what we are seeing it. We can explain it. But if your equipments are not going to be finer one, then how you are going to establish it? And tomorrow, obviously, we have to start with a few of the theories. Okay? But still, we are left with the one topic, that is geomagnetism. So tomorrow we are going to start with the geomagnetism, then it will be Wagner's drift, if probably we are going to have the introduction of isostasy. Okay? But still, till isostasy, it is not very clear. But after that, the scientific advancement, right away from the convectional current theory of the Holmes and seafloor spreading plate tectonic, more and more thing will be clear for you all also. But again, each and every theory which you are going to study in geography, okay, it has its counterpart. Some of the theories were in 1912. Prior to that also, some of the theories are in the decades of 60s, 1967. तो ये थोड़ा सा accuracy अब ज़्यादा आया है. And if you are going to compare the theories of the humanities which you are going to study in human geography, the theory is from 1798. But what is the relevance we have to study? So abhi accuracy aa raha hai. And one thing, from tomorrow onwards, please bring Oxford Students Atlas. Atlas आपको हर दिन लाना है और कल से ही शुरू हो जाएगा. And there are two types of Oxford Atlas. One is school atlas, one is student atlas. Buy student atlas, not the school one. You all are a graduate, तो school छूट गया, ठीक है? तो Oxford Student Atlas लाना. Now, do you think that you have to mug up the facts? देखो, physical geography is all about concepts. ठीक है? अभी कहा moist air भारी हो जाएगा, गलत हो गया. अब मॉइस्ट एयर को भारी कर देगा तो पूरा क्लाइमेट खत्म हो जाएगा. अब ये देखना है कि ड्राई एयर है, तो ड्राई एयर ठंडा है, तो ठंडा क्या करेगा? हाई प्रेशर होगा. तो आपके यहाँ ठंड में क्या होता है? हाई प्रेशर है. पॉन्ड्स का ऐड देखा है? अनुष्का भाभी जो आती है, क्या कहती है उसमें? मुझे लेट मी स्पीक इन हिंदी बिकॉज दैट एड इज इन हिंदी. कि सर्दियों में सर्द हवा आपके त्वचा से नमी ले लेती है, तो आप उस पर क्या लगाइए? पॉन्ड्स. तो हवा नमी कैसे खींचेगी? इफ द एयर इज नॉट ड्राई, हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू पिक अप द मॉइस्चर? एंड ड्राई एयर क्रिएट्स द हाई प्रेशर. तो इन विंटर वी हैव हाई प्रेशर. देखता है कभी विंटर में ऐसे करके लाइन आ जाता है ना? अभी भी आ रहा है. एसी इसीलिए एसी ड्राई कर देता है. इवन इफ यू आर गोइंग टू ट्रैवल इन अ फ्लाइट, they make it too dry. Even अपना चेहरा छुएगा ना, उसमें बर्फ प्यास लगता है फ्लाइट में. And it is drier than the Atacama Desert, the atmosphere. Whenever you are going to catch a flight, just go there and after just half an hour, touch your ये गाल हाथ छू, अजीब लगेगा. तो अब देखो, बेसिक चीज है स्टैंडर्ड 9th-10th NCERT, pressure, force upon area, and this is the Pascal's law of pressure which you studied in standard 7th. ठीक है? तो उस पे ध्यान देना. Okay, Aditya? Any more question? And anyone question from the online students? कुछ है? So initially for the first week, I think there is alternate classes due to some of my health problems. Maybe in second week also. After that, we are going to have 5 classes in a week. 2 दिन पढ़ाओ घर पे. And go to your home, just revise the notes from 1 hour, and I am going to give you my number. If you have any question related to that, it is 9773695456. You can call me not after 9 PM. हाँ, कभी कभी तो आदमी मूड में भी रहता है ना. Now any question? चलो इसको पढ़ना बस एक बार घर, जस्ट रिवाइज इट वंस एंड थोड़ा सा साइंस वाइंस का बुक ले लो. आई थिंक द क्लास इज डे आफ्टर टुमारो, परसों है ना सर?